407 AD, Constantine III deserted all and crossed to Gaul, leaving Britain unperturbed and undefended too, as he took with him his troops, leaving Britain to be mangled by Angles, Saxons, Jutes. The Angles were Germanic, as were the Saxons, and together rendered Britain Anglo-Saxon. The Saxons travelled south, the Angles to East Anglia, bringing farming tools, a sheaf of corn, boats, Beowulf, and beer. But was there actually a third tribe, the Jutes? Bill Bryson cast serious doubt, claiming the only proof in print was by St. Bede in his History of Britain, or an interlineation, which means it was not written by Bede himself in Sunderland's St. Peter's, but was sunk into the text much later on by some deceitful monk. 1 year after Constantine left Britain, my dear reader, Rome was sacked, as a matter of fact, by Alaric, the leader of the Visigoths, who demanded he be paid 5,000 pounds of gold and all barbarian slaves, 3,000 pounds of pepper, 3,000 scarlet hides, 4,000 silken tunics. In exchange, he would decide to lift his stranglehold from the Tiber River. Oh, and did I mention 30,000 pounds of silver? For it was insane the amount of grain that graced the Roman table, and Alaric knew that it came by ship across the Mediterranean. All Alaric had to do was block the Tiber, Ostia, and some roads that led to Rome to extort his handsome ransom. There was a second siege of Rome, and indeed a third, for the Romans kept on fighting back, but he was not deterred. So Rome was pillaged for 3 days in AD 410. It costs a lot to cross a Visigoth. Rome never recovered again. The 5th century was the reign of Attila the Hun, and the one who raided and killed 1,000,000 men, and even then expanded conquests further, from Belgrade in the Balkans to Media and Persia. One of his biggest drawbacks was more attacks on horseback. 500,000 Huns were travelling, armed with spears, swords, and javelin. In 439 he devastated Nisus, such a pity. The stench of death a decade later still suffused the city. Known as the Scourge of God, he ravaged Worms and Reims, Strasbourg, Milan, Padua, Verona, and Orleans. At the age of 47, he took a new wife, Ildiko, and died beside his bride, the cause of which is tough to know. They didn't fight on their wedding night, at least that is agreed, but drunk from wine and victory, he died of a nosebleed. Meanwhile, the Peruvians were drawing Nazca Lines. Perhaps you've heard pictures of birds and other huge designs. A spider 50 meters long, no one knows how or why. They can be only seen from planes. Could these pre-Incans fly? In 476 AD, the Roman Empire fell. Its sacking by the Visigoths we know of all too well. But it was Odoacer who finally overthrew Romulus the Emperor in a bloodless coup, and announced and pronounced himself the King of Italy. Some scholars still today will argue how little he was responsible for the fall of Rome, and cite substantial arguments for corruption close to home. Others say it was because of over-defending, over-expansion, and military overspending. Even with fabulous roads, Rome struggled to send legions to defend against barbarians from the furthest most regions. Others blamed Byzantium, later Constantinople, their division of the empire. People were not hopeful of the future of the Western Empire for the most part. Rome wasn't fortified, east and west would drift apart. The arrival of the Huns and the barbarian tribes, the rise of Christianity, we can only surmise. What reason? Treason? Financial demons? Weakened legions? Slaves seizing their freedom? And long ago, lead was plumbed in ancient Romans' homes, whose poisoned pipes, some say, led to the fall of Rome. I don't suppose anyone knows what really happened to Rome. Italy had been an empire, now it became a throne. Theodoric of the Ostrogoths made a dramatic boast, replaced Odoacer, made the Adriatic coast his capital, that's rational, and ruled as the king, adopting Roman customs. That was the weirdest thing. So we reach our half millennium. It has taken us ages. Now it's advantageous to embrace the Middle Ages.